My friends, I have a treat for you today because you see, I have a problem. I buy too many old calculators and math books on eBay, and one got delivered today. And because I buy, several at a time, I actually don't know what's in this box, although I do have an idea. I think it's the Texas Instruments Little Professor calculator, which is not actually a calculator. It's super cool. I think it's Texas Instruments, so I don't want to get that wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But let's crack into this box. It's not Amazon, it's in an Amazon box, but it is from eBay. You see the little thank you note on here for supporting a small business. Let's crack into this bad boy and see what we got in here. I think it is the Little Professor, and I'll be very excited to talk to you a little bit about that and try it out for myself if that is indeed what it is. I'm being very cautious, even though I'm using slightly sloppy knife technique. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to open this on camera. I actually have another package on my table from like over a month ago that I also don't know what's in that, so maybe I'll record that too at some point. All right, let's just throw this all on the floor here. I have to say, my experience with buying stuff on eBay, it's the Little Professor, has been that that people pack stuff really nicely. Now I see just the Little Professor, the calculator, in this bubble wrap, but I'm pretty sure I ordered the Little Professor with the book that it came with. So let's see if the book is in here too. Oh boy, haha! It is in here. Look at this. Oh wow. I just hit the microphone with my hand. I'm super excited. All right, let's open this book first, and then we'll open up the Little Professor, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. I'll read some stuff from the Wikipedia page, perhaps. See if I can open this without my knife. There's no point risking it. I don't want to crease the book, so we'll just slide the knife in there. See what we got. Now, I don't know. Is this like an instruction manual? This come with the Little Professor calculator originally? I'm not totally sure. My guess is probably. I've seen some pictures of the Little Professor in a box, so maybe it was originally sold in a box that came with this manual. I think this calculator, I will tell you for sure in a little bit, but I think the calculator was released in 1978. Man, I'm taking way too long to open this. And again, it's not really a calculator. I mean, it's calculator-ish. You'll see if you don't already know. Fun with math facts. 18 learning games and activities using the Little Professor. You'll see that guy shortly. So this is cool. Okay. Well, we'll flip through this, but before we do that, let's crack into the Little Professor itself. Got all this bubble wrap here. I will set the book off to the side, but keep it in the shot, just to keep things interesting. I'm not sure how much of that squeaking my microphone will pick up, but see if I can get in this thing without too much trouble. We've got some packing tape. I'll just rip that off. And, lots of bubbles we can enjoy popping together. Here's one for you. Oh, wow. That's fun, isn't it? Look at that. See, I don't know if I finished my sentence earlier. Look how well packed this stuff is on eBay. It's incredible. I hit the microphone again. I would have eBay, deliver a baby for me. I would trust them. That's very fun. That looks really loud on my microphone here. All right, I'll set that onto the floor as well. And here we go. We're getting ready to crack into the Little Professor, and the knife might be the best bet here because the bubble wrap and tape is getting pretty thick. So just see if I can do a little bit of careful slicing and dicing. It looks a little bit bulkier than I expected, actually, so that's interesting. Now, here's the thing. This requires batteries, right? It's not solar powered. There was a solar power edition released, but I don't think that's this one. I think this is one of the models without solar power. So I don't actually know if I have the battery that this thing is going to take. I might have to, I don't know. We'll see. Let's just open it up here. We are getting in there. I'm really barbaric with the way I'm opening this. But you can see it's so well protected. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It came with a battery. Let me zoom in. Obviously you can see it, but without the battery cover? Really? I do not remember the listing that I saw mentioning that it wasn't going to have the battery cover. That is a bummer. I mean, it just doesn't feel right if you don't have the battery cover. I'm going to have to buy another one. Ugh. And I don't know if this battery works or not. If it was like some super old battery that didn't work, I would assume you wouldn't include it, right? Especially since there's no cover. Let's flip it over. Look at that. Just filled with charm and personality. The little professor. Now, the eBay page said that it's functional. I would not have bought it if it wasn't functional. So we'll press on in a second and make sure that it actually is functional. Yes, this is Texas Instruments. I don't know if the camera can see that. If I zoom in a little bit more, though, you can probably see it. I'll try to get it to focus here. Yeah, so you can see that. Texas Instruments. What else does this say? Trying to read it while keeping it in focus. Nothing too interesting. Product and its components protected, blah, 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 etc. I love the design. I mean, obviously you got the cute guy with his glasses and his mustache and his nose, looking a little bit like Wario with that nose. He's got his little hands there holding his book. And the top here, I think, is, it's supposed to look kind of like a graduation cap. I think that's the idea, something like that. Or the cap that professors wear at college graduations. You can also see the Texas Instruments logo on the top of the calculator. I don't know if the camera is focusing. I don't think it is. Let me try to focus it so you can see that logo there on the top of the device. Camera's being stubborn. All right, well, let's press on. Let's press on and see the magic of the little professor. So what this is actually is like a backwards functioning calculator. Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is instead of us putting math, like an equation, into the little professor, and the little professor giving us the answer, what the little professor does, you see it in quotes there, it's funny. What the little professor does is it gives us an equation, and we have to tell the little professor the answer. According to Wikipedia, this was actually the first electronic educational toy, which was surprising to me. Really incredible idea from Texas Instruments. As a result, it's quite popular with calculator collectors, such as myself. So here we are. Let's press the big on button. You can see there's not many buttons here, but there is this on button, and I'm gonna press it. And okay, I see some stuff popping up. It doesn't look like that's showing up on the camera very well, though. Let me zoom in a little more. I don't know. This might be difficult. So right now what I see is that it says plus and L1. So something about level 1. I don't know how to operate this calculator, but what I'm going to do is press go and see what that does. Okay. So now what I see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, is 5 plus 3. I'm not sure. It looks like a plus sign, but it's kind of slanty. But if that is 5 plus 3, the idea is that I should enter 8 and 8. Go. 8. Okay, so I just pressed 8. I had to press it like firmly. And now it's changed the equation. Again, I don't think you can even see this. It's changed the equation, which means I got it right. You can maybe if I change the frame rate of the video, you could see it. But now it says 2 plus 3. So I can press 5 and it's correct. So it moves on to 1 plus 2. Press 3. It says 3 plus 4, so I press 7. Now it says 5 plus 1. If I press the wrong number, like 2, EEE shows up on the display, which means I got it wrong. So I can try again. Maybe I press 3 this time. It's still wrong. So EEE shows up, and it gives me another chance. I could press 4, which is still wrong. And then it tells me the correct answer. After 3 wrong tries, it says 5 plus 1 equals 6, you nimwit. And Then if I press go, it'll move on to the next problem. Now I'll quickly answer a few more of these questions. I think once you answer 10, from what I read, it will give you a score to tell you how many you got right out of the 10 problems. Yeah, so I see 9 flashing on the display. I got 9 out of 10 problems correct. So, man, you could just pass. I mean, you could go anywhere. If you got the little professor in your pocket, you know, like what trip could you not entertain yourself for? I could fly across the world and back, and I would just be so amused by the little professor. Now I'm pressing level to cycle through the different levels you can play. That was level 1, which was just a bunch of single-digit addition problems. It looks like you can go up to level 4. So let me go all the way up to level 4, and let's see what happens. 18 plus 92. All right, that's a little bit harder. That's going to be 110. There we go, got it right. 65 plus 5, that's going to be 70. Oh, whoops, I pressed the on button. I'm just kind of used to zeros being there. I'm just curious, you know, so let me go back to level 4. Is it only going to give me addition problems? This is just addition so far. Let me play a little more and see if something other than addition shows up. All right, I got 10 out of 10 correct. That was on level 4, but it was all addition. You know what? It just occurred to me. So when I press on, there's a plus sign there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a plus and a level 1. So I can change that operation, I'm sure. What if I press times? Oh yeah, there we go. So if I press times, now I can play, you know, the multiplication game. Now I just wonder, is there an option where I can, you know, do all the basic operations in a test? It's difficult for me to hold this flat, because if I hold it flat, I can't actually see the display, which is why I'm kind of holding it at an angle here. Now, division, I wonder, like, division level 4 could potentially actually be quite challenging. Although maybe not so challenging, because I think it still has to all be integers. So I'm on level 4 here. If we press go, 60 divided by 20, 3. 28 divided by 14, 2. 45 divided by 15, 3. So this is sweet. I mean, I could just, you know, this is great. It's too bad the little professor doesn't have like derivatives and integrals. I just wish you could see the display. I think you kind of can, but based on my camera preview, no, you can't. I don't think you can see the display at all. I'm going to try changing the frame rate, and we'll come back and see if it comes through any more clearly. All right, I changed the frame rate, and look, now you can see the display. So I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to edit this video together, but now we can play together. We can play the little professor. This is great. 84 divided by 14, that's going to be 6. Oh yeah, so let's just finish this up so you can see what it's like. 60 divided by 12, that's going to be 5. And then I can barely see this. I'm trying to look at the camera preview so that I don't have to hold the calculator at a slant, but this is 16 divided by 8, so that's 2. Then we have 38 divided by 19, also 2. 28 divided by 7, that's going to be 4. 45 divided by 15, that is going to be, wait, what is it? 45, oh no, 45 divided by 5, 9. 9. These buttons, 10 out of 10 correct. Man, I'm good at this. These buttons feel good. I love how these buttons feel, but you can see they're not super responsive. Part of that is probably just due to the fact that this thing is pretty darn old. Let's just play the multiplication game, and then we can check out the book. So I'll press off, I'll press on, we'll press times so that we're playing multiplication, and then the level will make level 4. I don't know what the set button does. I wonder what the set button does. Maybe the manual will tell us, but let's press go. It's not the manual, you know, it's the whatever, the fun math sheet. Okay, so this is probably the most difficult. 9 times 31 isn't completely trivial, but 279. Then 7 times 25, that's going to be 175. Then we have 12 times 6. That's going to be 72. Play along at home. It's great. 9 times 17. That's going to be 153. And then we got 24 times 10. 240. That's classic. Oh, whoops, I pressed the on button. See, I don't know. I just feel like that should be 0 for some reason. What's wrong with me? Okay, well, anyways, so that's pretty fun. That's great. That's so cute. What a great toy. Let's look a little bit at this book in a minute. Before we do that, let me just tell you a little bit more about The Little Professor. Some of the facts from the Wikipedia page: The Little Professor was first released by Texas Instruments June 13th, 1976. Like I said, it's the first electronic educational toy. In 1976, it cost less than $20, and I don't think that's far off from what I paid for this, so it has not gotten super expensive. Part of that is because how many they've made. More than 1 million units sold in 1977 alone, according to Wikipedia and its cited sources. There have been several versions of this. Like I said, there is a solar power edition, and perhaps I'll pick that up and we can take a look at this. But, or a look at that, I mean. But this is the 9-volt battery version. Whether or not this is the complete first edition, it looks like it pretty much is. So this says TI 1978. You might be able to see there. See if I can get the camera to focus. There you go. 1978. Like I said, it was released originally in 1976, but whether or not this actually has any material differences from the version that was manufactured in 1976, I do not know. Okay, I just checked the Data Math Calculator Museum, which is a fantastic website for all your calculator needs, and now I'm looking at the first edition from 1976, and I can tell you this does have some significant differences. The 1976 version, it looks like had a hole for a sort of clip here on the top left. You could like clip it to your backpack, clip it to your jeans, clip it to whatever you want. I mean, that's incredible. It's too bad that they dropped that feature. But also, the original 1976 version did not have the level button, the off button, or the on button. All of those were new additions in the subsequent version, which I believe is this one. This is the second version of The Little Professor. Here, where the on key is, was the set button in the first version. And here where the level button is, was the divides button. So basically this top row wasn't even there in the original version of The Little Professor. So hopefully I can cop an OG Little Professor one of these days. But this is the 1978 version. I gotta get me a battery cover. Let's take a look at the companion book here. So this is Fun with Math Facts. Fun with Math Facts. 18 learning games and activities using The Little Professor. You can see him there. That's that guy right there. Now I wonder, okay, yeah, so you can see based on the keypad, that is The Little Professor, and that is this Little Professor from 1978. Let's crack this boy open, zoom in, take a look through the table of contents here. Meet the Little Professor, learning games and activities, beginning activities, intermediate activities, mathematical chairs, that sounds fun. Advanced activities, how long was Chris gone? I wonder who Chris is. And we have an appendix on battery information and in case of difficulty, all sorts of other things. Here are what looks like basically the instructions. This looks like the type of thing you would include with The Little Professor. I'm going to read through this whole thing myself, but I'm not going to read it on camera. I will slowly push it up, though, in case you would like to have a read through it. Once I read through it, I'll tell you if it said anything surprising or new about operating the Little Professor calculator. So after reading through the instructions, I cannot see why I would need this here set button. The set button, everything this booklet describes the set button being used for, I accomplished without ever having pressed it. So I don't really get it. But one other interesting thing it does mention is that we can save battery power by turning the Little Professor off, of course, with the off key, which was one of the great new additions in this version. But also it will turn itself off with the automatic power down feature after 3 to 6 minutes of not being used. Here we have the anatomy of your Little Professor calculator. The power keys, the operation keys, the level of difficulty keys, and so on. Yeah, there's that slanty plus that I was talking about that you might not have got to see because I didn't change the frame rate on this video until I was done playing the Division game. Learning games and activities. Again, I will slowly push this up in case you want to have a read through. They really thought of everything. Here's the very next page, Tracemates. So here they're just making sure that you understand how your familiar numbers look in your Little Professor video game console. So you're supposed to match these up, right? 0, that's 0. 1, that's 1. What does an 8 look like on a Little Professor? Well, it looks like that. If you've used alarm clocks before, you might be familiar with that type of thing. Okay, so here's a game, Jackpot. This is like a beginner level game. So it starts with beginner stuff. What is this game all about? I am alone right now, so I don't think I'll be able to play this game. Jackpot is for 2 or more players. Each will need many counters, like buttons, pebbles, marbles, or toothpicks. To begin, push on to turn on the Little Professor. Each player pushes set plus go. Each player finds the sum to the problem on the Little Professor. Count the answer out loud as you add this many counters to your jackpot. Others may help you. Be sure to keep your jackpot separate from the other counters. After 5 rounds, find your total jackpot by counting the things in your pile. The player with the most things is the winner. The only problem here is it says each player finds the sum to the problem, and then you add that many counters to your jackpot. Shouldn't it, like, if the Little Professor says 5 plus 3, and I'm like, oh, it's 9, I found the answer, and I add that many counters to my jackpot, I feel like they're missing the part where it says enter your answer, and if you're correct, add that many counters to your jackpot. Without that rule, Jackpot seems like a pretty boring game. This is a coloring game, Winter Numberland, where you do multiplication problems on the Little Professor and then color in the numbers and all that. It's kind of cute. That's a great, like, snow day activity. You and your boys get together and play Winter Numberland with your Little Professors. Locomotion. Okay, so this is a really complicated one. Still, like, beginner level problems, I think, but complicated rules. So that's fun. I like this. It's just got all sorts of different activities, basically ideas. You can just have fun with your Little Professor and your parents, or Little Professor and your homies, and you can just practice your arithmetic and play these fun games. What could be better than that? Matrix. Ooh, that sounds fun. I sure wish that I could play all these right now. We've got the appendix, battery information, low battery indication. It will provide approximately 15 hours of continuous operation. If you observe any of the following indications, the battery is discharged: dim display, erratic display, or unusual or inconsistent operation. It's designed to provide years of reliable service in practicing your arithmetic problems. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So that's a look at the companion book to the Little Professor. That's really cute. I love the design, and the activities looked like a lot of fun, well thought out, and it's just a really well-designed book. I love the fonts. I love the little pictures. Look at that Little Professor. Look at that thick mustache. That is just wonderful. So that's a quick look at my 1978, which is a second edition, basically, Little Professor calculator or toy or video game console without a battery cover. Very sad. So this is definitely now one of my favorite parts of my calculator collection. I just think it's really cool, and I'm really happy to have the book along with it. The next things I'd like to get, after getting this, I want a battery cover. God, what am I going to do to get a battery cover? Ugh. I want a battery cover. Obviously, I can just buy another Little Professor from 1978 that comes with a battery cover, but then I'll still have a Little Professor without a battery cover. Anyways, I'd like to get some other educational toys from around this time, the late 1970s, early 1980s, to look at, because there are several others kind of in this vein of the Little Professor. One that comes to mind is the Data Man, so we could take a look at some of those. I also, of course, want the 1976 first edition Little Professor, and if I can get my hands on that, you'll be the first to know.